Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you are watching my review for Boku no Hero Academia, aka My Hero Academia, chapters 59 and 60, though this is mostly going to be a review of 59, because there isn't really much to talk about with 60, except for the end. But honestly, this entire video is pretty much just talking about One for All and All for One. Okay. Um, Initially, we talk about the hero killer a little bit because the hero killer took some of Midoriya's blood, and that's how, and getting the person's DNA, that's how One for All actually transfers over. But we learned that while it is possible to force the quirk onto someone else, it is not possible to actually steal it from someone because in order for the quirk to actually transfer it requires the user, him or herself, to actually want it to transfer. And we learn that the reason this is the case, because at first I heard that, I'm like, are you serious? Like, what kind of quirk is this? Like, how is this even possible? That's stupid, you know. But because it sounded so stupid, that's what allowed us to transition into All Might actually explaining how One for All was actually created. And it turns out it was created because of All for One. Alright, it turns out that All for One was an ability, or it is still an ability where you can steal and then redistribute quirks. Alright, and the person who has All for One is the guy who is not leading Shigaraki, but like kind of instructing him and mentoring him. He's the one that Shigaraki is always talking to through the screen, you know. Apparently this guy, back in the past when quirks were first coming up, he became this big time villain. He was leading all these people through fear, and he was taking quirks and giving quirks to other people and all this stuff. And he had a brother, a big brother, I think. I forgot whether big or small, big or little, whichever one it was. I don't remember. But he had a brother, and his brother didn't agree with what he was doing. And his brother, at first they thought that his brother didn't have a quirk, but it turned out he actually did have one. He had the ability to pass his quirk onto someone else, which is pretty much a useless ability, right? You can't pass your quirk onto someone else if you don't have a quirk to pass on. But even if you do pass your actual quirk on, then what? Like, the only way to actually make use of that quirk is to lose that quirk to someone who already has one. Or what ended up happening, which is you have the brother with All for One giving a Power Stalker quirk to the brother, so being able to increase your strength. All right, and that Power Stalker quirk ended up combining with his transferring quirk in order to create One for All. Okay, so now he has a quirk where he can make himself stronger, but also give both quirks to someone else and pass them down. All right, and the Power Stalker ability, it actually gets stronger each time it gets transferred over to another person. So for each additional generation of One for All users, that newest user should be stronger than the previous one. Okay. Um, Now, this villain, now, if you recall back when Isuku first saw like a glimpse of all the people who have had One for All in the past, there were a decent number of them, right? So there have been a decent number of generations of One for All users, and you may think that the guy who has All for One is long gone, or at least not a threat anymore. But that's not the case, because one of the quirks that he's gotten is one that makes him practically immortal and ageless. Alright? So he's still around. Though All Might did give him a run for his money. All Might thought he had defeated him, but it turns out he isn't actually defeated. It's just that his body is really messed up at the moment, so he can't really do much. But they are working on him, though. They are trying to heal his body, so it's possible that he may show up later on as a big time villain. You can tell he's kind of trying to bring up Shigaraki and have him um, be a big player. But I don't know yet if he's trying to have Shigaraki replace him entirely, or just be like a right-hand man, you know, um, like an Orochimaru Sasuke type of relationship, you know, something like that. Um, so the point is that the guy who uses All for One, he's still alive. He's still dangerous because whether or not he can do anything on his own, he has Shigaraki and he's instructing him on how to act. But they are also trying to heal of the dude's body, so he may end up getting back into fighting shape and fighting Izuku at some point. All right. And speaking of fighting Izuku, All Might stated that it was probably fate that Midoriya would eventually fight this guy with All for One. But Midoriya responds to this by saying, I don't know if I'm ready, but when the time comes, I'll be able to do it as long as you're here with me, something along those lines. And then All Might said, he doesn't actually say it out loud, but but he thinks to himself, that he isn't actually going to be around when that happens. So I don't know what exactly that means. I mean, obviously the dude's body is breaking down, but is it breaking down to the point where he's going to die? Or maybe when Izuku masters One for All 100% and All Might loses the ability 100%, maybe you die when you transfer the ability over 100% like that, who knows. But he said he won't be around when that happens. Though, and that even then, that's an assumption on my part, assuming that when he says that he means death. He may not mean that. Um, maybe when he said that he didn't literally mean he won't be around. Maybe he meant that he wouldn't be capable of helping him. But I don't know. That's a bit of a stretch because the way he phrased it, But it could be a translation thing. Like maybe he didn't really say it that way. It's just the way it was translated in the version I read. It could be that. But the point is, after a while, Izuku isn't going to be able to rely on All Might for help anymore. And by the time Izuku does end up having to fight against All for One, All Might won't be able to help him. Alright? So that's the big news coming out of these two chapters. With chapter 60, the main thing you get... Well, first of all, I have to point out that it was hilarious how Mineta is actually the 9th best student of the class out of 20 people. He's the 9th best. I thought that was hilarious because Mina and Kaminari were just like, no, that doesn't make sense. You can't you can't be smart. That's not possible. Characters like you are supposed to be stupid to make them more lovable. You're not supposed to be smart. You can't do that. So that was funny. But the main thing with this chapter is that they're doing the training camp. And instead of fighting against robots for the practical exam, what they're going to really do is fight against actual teachers. All right, so everyone's going to be paired up into twos and fight against people. All right, Todoroki is with Yaoyorozu. They're going to be fighting against Aizawa. And Izuku is going to be with Bakugo, which was no surprise. And they are going to be fighting against All Might, which is also not a surprise. So that should be interesting. We get to see Izuku in action a little bit more. He obviously was impressive back when they did the last exercise, and though he did fall on his face, but hopefully this is a chance for him to show off and not fall on his face. So hopefully we get to see some cool stuff. But that's that for these last couple of chapters, really. As for ratings, I'll give chapter 60 a 7 out of 10 because there was the comedy in the beginning plus the reveal of what the training camp is actually going to be about. So I'll give that a 7 out of 10. And I'll give chapter 59 an 8 out of 10 because it told us all, not all there is to know about All for One, but it told us a decent amount. It actually told us about One for All and All for One. I just got the song All for One from High School Musical 2 stuck in my head now. Wow. What I should have done is what I should do just to mess with people is put that song as the outro for this video, but I'm not going to do that because I'm a good person. I say that though, but it's not like, be honest. Like back in the day, you liked that song. Just be honest with yourself. You liked the song back in the day, all right? Now I got it stuck in my head. Okay, whatever. Moving on. Okay. Yeah, chapter 59 gets an 8 out of 10 because it talked about All for One, it talked about One for All, and it revealed the guy who uses All for One. Into that All Might kind of just going away in the future for one reason or another. So actually, I'll give that chapter an 8.5. I'll give it an 8.5. So yeah, I could give it a 9, but I don't know. It's just like sometimes what a chapter needs to get that extra oomph to it, to get that extra point, in the rating. Sometimes it's like I don't really know how to describe it. Like it, like the it factor, or uh, like charisma, but printed charisma. Like, I don't know, it's weird. Like, it's something like that where you can't really describe. It's like charisma or the it factor where you can't really describe but it's just like this chapter had enough of it to get an 8.5, but I don't know if it was enough of it, or I can say this was just a great chapter, you know. So I'll give it an 8.5, and that's that, you guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at BlacklistOTA, because I guarantee you that despite the fact that I want comments, I guarantee you I check Twitter more than I check my comment section, because Firefox won't let me sign into multiple Gmail accounts, and then it's my main Gmail account isn't the one I use for YouTube, so I have, it's the pain. All right, so it's the pain. All right, but I check Twitter every day, so don't be afraid to tweet me at BlacklistOTA, because I guarantee you I will see what you tell me on Twitter. And yeah, that's that, you guys. See you guys next time.